I recognize the Honorable Minister of BUILTE.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, under the leadership of our Honorable Premier, Reuben T. Meade, this government presented its first budget speech under the theme, One Montserrat. And those words were etched into my memory, especially the words from an African proverb. You can go far alone, but you go further together. Following his presentation to this Honorable House, each of us presented our individual responses and ambitions from advancing this theme, much of which was taken from our manifesto. Madam Speaker, let me say from the outset that the wheels of government at times, unnecessary bureaucracy and control flow very slowly, so at times it's very difficult to contain or rein in the horse of impatience. It may even breach or go close to intolerance. And at times, it reminds me of when I hear the older women speak of a woman in labor when the moon is weak. The Honorable Opposition Leader and his team provided respectful feedback on the budget presentation. And Madam Speaker, if I had my way, I would change the word opposition, because in its very essence, it does not lend itself to unity. The One Montserrat requires that we work in unity. If we are going to achieve our developmental aspiration of One Montserrat, a five-star premium destination, a place where people want to live, work, study, visit, find fun and enjoyment, all of us in this honorable house, all the political leaders and our advisors, the people and friends of Montserrat living on Montserrat and abroad have a role to play. I had to respectfully remind an official in St. Lucia, when I hope he did not intentionally cast disdain when he spoke of the capacity in Montserrat, I reminded him nicely that we are not just 4,000 persons, but tens of thousands strong, even if we do not all live on Montserrat. And so today, as I stand here, I want to reiterate our strong message and reminder from the start of this address to my brothers and sisters and friends of Montserrat living abroad, that we are counting on you to unite with us in building One Montserrat, a five-star premium destination. It matters not what generation you come from, before Windrush or after, son, daughter, or grand. Every boy, every girl, every man, every woman, we must unite and stand and build this Montserrat, our five-star premium destination. It's not about the chatter. It's time to unite and work, bringing our talents, our gifts, our time, our treasure, and connections, old or young. Once you're yet alive, you have a contribution to make in building this One Montserrat, our five-star premium destination. And if you cannot work, then watch and pray. This government cannot do it alone. We cannot forget our partners. We value your contribution and continue to record our gratitude as we work together to secure a sustainable future for our people. I want to echo and adopt all the thanks that our Honorable Premier extended yesterday. Yes, it is about people, partnership, progress, prosperity, for a secure, sustainable future. Madam Speaker, we are all in this House because of the people of Montserrat who placed the leadership and governance of the present, the future of this land, and all peoples in our hands as parliamentarians, advisors, and officers of this House. At this time in history, to the sovereign will of God, we have been called for such a time as this. And I want to, at this time, Madam Speaker, say thanks to the Almighty God for bringing us thus far, for considering us, and for considering me to work with others to lead his people. Madam Speaker, I rise today with gratitude and humility and a deep sense of duty to present my contribution on the Ministry of Buildings, Utilities, Infrastructure, Labor, Transportation, and Ecclesiastical Affairs. This is not an ordinary ministry. This is the ministry that touches every life. It is built that keeps the road passable when the storms come. It is built, oh Madam Speaker, that keeps our public buildings functional when time and weather take their toll and unsuitable designs fail. We fix it. It is built that carries the burdens of utilities, modernization, energy transition, and infrastructure resilience. It is built that stands at the hinge point between we manage and we transformed. And so, Madam Speaker, I rise not only to merely list projects, I rise to speak about, Madam Speaker, the work of this ministry over the past year, which has been guided by a clear objective to advance resilience, sustainability, and inclusive development across infrastructure, utilities, transport, and labor service. To make a difference, not just any difference, but a positive difference in the lives of our people. Last year, Madam Speaker, I speak of a rising and a building of faith, purpose, and national identity, and I stick, Madam Speaker, to those not moving. Building one Montserrat, a 5-star premium destination where people want to live, work, and study, visit, have fun, and find enjoyment. This year, I return with the same spirit, but with an even sharper emphasis: how we build, why we build, and whether what we build will endure. Because building is not simply about construction. Building is about stewardship. Building is about systems. Building is institutional strength, and building is about people. And if we build without systems, we still and constantly will repair. And if we build with our processes, Madam Speaker, we will not be able to evaluate and monitor and hold ourselves accountable. If we build without maintenance, we will constantly rebuild. If we build without capacity, we will constantly delay. Madam Speaker, if we build without integrity, we will constantly pay more than we should. And so, Madam Speaker, as we advance and strengthen and support, our commitment to partnerships remain. We build not alone, but with all the other ministries, as I have said before, and I know they're doing their part and will tell you. Madam Speaker, we also remain focused, as I said, on our 7 strategic priorities, which are clearly outlined, will drive economic sustainability, workforce development, citizen empowerment, a wholesome community, cohesive community, and long-term resilience, population retention, and growth. We will continue to advance government critical building maintenance and accommodation strategy, advancing critical utilities rehabilitation for safety and well-being, energy reliability, security and investment opportunities, strengthening critical transport infrastructure for safe, affordable, and reliable access, road rehabilitation, improvement and beautification, our labor force development and empowerment, and transport, ecclesiastical affair, least but not last, because that is the foundation on which we stand. Without God, we cannot do it. Promoting social well-being, a wholesome, cohesive community is what we aspire to do. Madam Speaker, as we speak to aviation and maritime, our regulatory work, tariff capacity and building, we continue to strengthen the systems that keep our people access safe and compliant, recognizing connectivity is not a luxury, but a condition of development. To facilitate safe, affordable, reliable access, along with our port project, these are critical areas for our advancement. Madam Speaker, the Port Development Project, on which I would not speak much, remains still a critical national investment. And during the past year, it required heightened oversight due to our challenges. And the government has taken a step to safeguard this position. And Madam Speaker, we will continue to keep you informed when it is so appropriate. The regulatory and safety capacity, Madam Speaker, of our Montreal Port Authority continues to also play a critical role in maintaining port operations and supporting national connectivity, even as longer-term infrastructure solutions are being supported. The regulatory framework and safety capacity of staff has been strengthened, and this will continue. We continue as well to strengthen our labor administration, our workplace compliance, policy readiness, because fairness and productivity must be built into the structure of the economy. We are determined to build a healthy and wholesome Montserrat, a just and equitable society where there is dignity in work. Madam Speaker, we have embarked on implementing our minimum wage order 2025. This order, Madam Speaker, guarantees the national minimum wage. So a minimum wage order guarantees every worker is paid at least a basic and fair hourly rate for their labor. It sets a clear national wage floor of $12.50 per hour, so working people are protected from unduly low pay, and we move closer to a fair, wholesome Montserrat where decent work earns decent wages. The authority is from the Labor Code, Madam Speaker, and it allows the governor to advise cabinet to set minimum wage order, and therefore we operate on a legal basis. As we are aware, it took place on 1st of April or came into effect 2026. It is important, Madam Speaker, to have a national minimum wage. People say governments have been trying to get this done for years. And what's the history in brief? Madam Speaker, each government tried to advance it, but this sat there on the shelves. We know it can be challenging for employers, but we also care about our employers or small businesses. And so this process was launched from consultation in 2022, and the Labor Advisory Board later completed a review and it recommended $12.50, and that work helped shape what we have now implemented. On that, Madam Speaker, were persons from the unions, the private sector chamber, Small Business Association, labor. Madam Speaker, our people have been suffering for too long. So long, Madam Speaker, I recall a woman crying to me on the telephone, having have to work all day, get up in the night, and still being paid $5 per hour. Although it may not appear, we are confident that this will help to drive the economy more, as more money in the economy will go straight back to many of our small business owners. The Labor Advisory Board, I want to thank them, Madam Speaker, for they did the heavy lifting in the review and in their recommendation. Our workers, Madam Speaker, I know will benefit. And so studies have shown as well that the minimum wage results in increased productivity, efficiency, accountability. It assesses and shapes, Madam Speaker, what is done throughout a particular period of time. Responsibilities and duties are specific. And so, Madam Speaker, the employers are also geared to benefit. Small business is the backbone of our economy, and we are prepared to work with them. We have already created a practical employment compliance handbook for small businesses, owners, and operators, because we are here to work with them. Madam Speaker, we have already held workshops as well with small business owners, and we will continue. We are also invited and will and intend to undertake training for employees in work ethics, customer service, and customer care. We are all in this together. The worry, Madam Speaker, for many, although this law will safeguard our families and children, because when wages are too low, it affects our family stability, whether you can afford electricity, send a child to school with breakfast, a minimum wage helps protect dignity. There are so many social ills that result from low-paying wages. Health is affected because persons cannot afford to buy or provide themselves with their needs, struggling to live decently, forced to live, Madam Speaker, in unhealthy conditions as rent is unaffordable. Families and children are affected. To protect the workers, Madam Speaker, the order provides that an employer can be fined for paying below the minimum wage, failing to post notices, unlawfully reducing wages, with higher penalty for repeat offenses. We are not here, Madam Speaker, to target or to punish, but to work together. And therefore, Madam Speaker, we're inviting both workers and employers to work with us, to speak with us. We are here at the Labor Department not to take sides, but to work with both. We have worked as well with the International Labour Organization as part of this process, and the ILO recognizes minimum wage frameworks and international standards under the Wage Fixing Convention number 131 as core tools for fairness and equity. It gives us a voice in the international forum, and so much will now be a part of this profile and be able to ratify this convention, which is long outstanding. Through concerns, workers, we prepare, as I said before, to hold discussions on practical issues while keeping the core principle intact: fair wages for decent work. Madam Speaker, I want to implore employees not to cheat their employers of the time that they are at the business places to work, to give of their best, to give of excellence, to give of their commitment as we work together. Madam Speaker, it is important to recognize the context in which we work. Although we may seem as if it's just about labor, Madam Speaker, there is more to it than that. We have many other departments, and so I will address those as we go along. But I wanted, Madam Speaker, to highlight those two programs, especially at the beginning. We cannot forget, again, Madam Speaker, that before we can speak of advancing, we must plan. And so, Madam Speaker, our strategic plan sets out the ministry's programs and allocations, which I must give account for. The strategic plan speaks of our strategic management and administration, infrastructure services, plant hire and mechanical, airport management, and operations, in addition to the industrial relations that I spoke about. It is important that we follow a strategic plan as a significant shift in the overall envelope across our medium and long-term horizon. The reality, Madam Speaker, is that we have to be more disciplined, more coordinated, even focused on values for money, because when resources tighten, systems must strengthen. We have heard the Honorable Premier, Madam Speaker. As he said, it's not all gloom and doom, but we will be expected to tighten our belt. I must, Madam Speaker, account for financial stewardship under my watch, and I will speak directly to that. In the financial year 2025-2026, the ministry operated with an approved budget of $49.8 million, of which $22.99 million was made available for implementation, reflecting the phased nature of capital programs and funding drawdowns. Against these available resources, the ministry recorded actual expenditure of $22.13 million, achieving an overall execution rate of 96.26%. Madam Speaker, where we take these figures apart, disaggregate them, they become even clearer. Our recurrent expenditure amounted to $15.1 million against the year releases of $15.16 million, representing an execution rate of 99.645%. This means that the ministry sustained virtually full execution of its operational budget, ensuring that our core services, infrastructure, maintenance, and plant operations, airport service, and labor and administration were delivered consistently throughout the year. Our capital expenditure, by contrast, reflected the realities of procurement contractor performance and program sequencing. Against the year releases of $7.83 million, actual capital expenditure was $7.2 million, representing an execution of approximately 89.7%. Madam Speaker, these figures are not abstract. They demonstrate a ministry that is managing both operational certainty and capital complexity at the same time. At the program level, the strength of execution becomes even more evident. Infrastructure services recorded expenditure of approximately $8.66 million, with execution approaching 99.8%, delivering road rehabilitation, drainage works, building maintenance across the island. Madam Speaker, employment, putting, Madam Speaker, money into the hands of our people. Our plant hire and mechanical services executed approximately $3.18 million, with execution exceeding 98%, ensuring that critical equipment was available to support works, maintenance, and emergency response. Airport management and operations delivered approximately $2.49 million, with execution exceeding 99%, maintaining safe and compliant aviation services. Our strategic management and administration executed approximately $2.30 million, supporting coordination, policy oversight, and cross-government project delivery. Industrial relations and labor services, though small in allocation at approximately $22 million, also recorded execution in excess of 99%, supporting inspections, compliance, policy implementation, and, as I said before, the minimum wage framework. Madam Speaker, that is what execution discipline looks like. It means that across our programs, maintenance was carried out, roads and drains were addressed, public buildings remained operational, equipment was mobilized, the airport remained compliant and functional, and labor services continued without interruption. In addition, the ministry delivered strong revenue performance, with recurrent revenue reaching $2.32 million against a target of $2.16 million, achieving 10.76% of projections, driven by licensing, mechanical services, and airport-related revenues. Madam Speaker, what does this demonstrate? It is not that funds were simply spent. It demonstrates that funds were converted into results across every program area. And so, Madam Speaker, although we speak of a budget, and although we speak of figures, it's words, Madam Speaker, that puts flesh on and clothes on our numbers. It reflects, Madam Speaker, that as a ministry, we are managing a complex portfolio with discipline, control, and a clear focus on delivery, ensuring that our public resources translate into tangible improvements in infrastructure services and national resilience. Madam Speaker, this delivery has been supported by a disciplined use of resources across both recurrent and capital programs, investment in building maintenance, road and drainage works, and utility improvements represents $7 million targeted expenditure aligned to national priorities. Even under pressure, the ministry has maintained strong utilization of available funds, ensuring that resources are directed towards areas of great impact and need. We want to ensure that, Madam Speaker, every cent is spent, and spent responsibly, Madam Speaker, and with integrity. The last year was indeed not easy. It was demanding, technical, and at times unforgiving, but BUILTE delivered. We advanced our national pivot towards structured maintenance. We continued upgrades to priority public buildings and critical facilities, targeted repairs and improvements to extend the useful life of assets, strengthening safety features, including protective measures as quayside, advancing the tools and systems needed to manage the public estate more professionally. Madam Speaker, I want to emphasize that, for example, among our public buildings, we had those of the fire stations that we had to service and that were left, you can say, in disrepair. And those are the officers that keep us safe. Both the fire station at Braids and the one at J.A. Osborne Airport, Madam Speaker, has received, Madam Speaker, much needed attention, and we will continue to complete that project. Madam Speaker, this work as well was visible across communities, and we would have spoken about that before. Flood mitigation works were undertaken in Casby, restoring drainage capacity and improving resilience. Sections of the Bellam Valley, which we unearthed and reopened, strengthening access and network redundancy, access along St. George's Hill, Madam Speaker, in conjunction, Madam Speaker, with the Honourable Premier and the Tourism Authority, and planning advanced Bellam Bridge to support long-term climate connectivity. These interventions, Madam Speaker, formed a broader part, a broader section of the work that we do. Madam Speaker, if it were not for the committed work of our engineers, we would not have been able to report to this honorable House that under the financial year, we also strengthened our nation's road and drainage system. Runaway got to St. John's, achieving full target delivery. Davy Hill to St. John's, surface overlay. Little Bay area, network benefited from patching and surface overlay. Improved durability and serviceability. Further enhancements were taken across communities at Woodlands Beach Road, Glebe, Hope, Salem, Upper Frith, overlay at Jones Hill. Jones Hill residents had suffered for years. From Lookout en route to Judy Peace. And work recently at Bishop View Road was also completed. Service overlay delivered. And Limekin and Old Roseby also saw remedial works. Madam Speaker, we must, Madam Speaker, apologize to our residents for the difficulty when traveling along the roads, and Madam Speaker, in their own communities. We thank them for their patience, and we will continue to work with them. Madam Speaker, we prioritize maintenance and improvement of our drainage and verge infrastructure, recognizing their critical role in safeguarding public safety and enhancing climate resilience. Along the Salem to St. John's route, verge cutting and comprehensive culvert and drain cleaning were completed and significantly improved visibility, stormwater conveyance, and the beauty. To the secondary verge and drainage maintenance program, 18 private contractors executed scheduled works across our B road network, ensuring consistent upkeep, improved drainage performance, and attraction. These contractors recruited over 90 persons across various communities for an average of 5 months, thereby sustaining employment, strengthening local economies. In Alveston, corrective work addressed 100 meters of defective camber and enhanced stormwater flow efficiency, reducing safe runoff risks. A major invention was also delivered at Salem, Amesgut, where stormwater river crossing capacity was increased threefold, and the U-drain was installed. 150 meters of camber defects were rectified. 60 meters of new sidewalk was construed to ensure pedestrian safety and mobility. Montserrat on the move. Madam Speaker, the government maintained its agenda on critical building infrastructure, as I said before, advanced significantly, not only at the fire stations, but at the clinics. Montserrat Secondary School, Block L is now completed, which has been lying around for some time. ZJB, shuttered. These undertakings are not just projects of repair, they're the engines of employment, and they are protecting our citizens, Madam Speaker. We will continue to recruit, ensuring consistent jobs and steady income where the budget allows. Madam Speaker, this is tangible evidence that our maintenance agenda is strengthening both our public facilities, the livelihood of our people, the families, and by extension, our economy. Madam Speaker, this accomplishment were not done willy-nilly. They reflect prudent management of public resources, disciplined execution of planned works, and the government's unwavering commitment to building a safer, more resilient, and better connected Montserrat. We cannot pretend, Madam Speaker, that we did not encounter challenges. We did. And chief among these, believe it or not, were at times shortage of skilled labor in order to complete the contracts, and extended land issues that have delayed certain road works. These challenges, though real, they're not insurmountable. The government remains steadfast and committed in addressing them through targeted recruitment, training initiatives, and continued dialogue with our landowners and stakeholders. It's about our people. It's about partnership that leads to prosperity and a secure, sustainable future for all. Landowners, we want you to know that when we improve roads, your property value is enhanced and you are more in a position to benefit. I ask that you partner with us as we endeavor to build our One Montserrat, our 5-star premium destination. Madam Speaker, this achievement of the Bellum Bridge cannot be taken by BUILTE alone. We must commend, Madam Speaker, our Honorable Dwayne Hickson, Parliamentary Secretary, for the Bellum Bridge restorative activities, which mark a significant milestone in our national infrastructure. It is a symbol of hope, of partnership, of shared vision, again, that we care about our people and we remain committed to building One Montserrat. And as Honorable Dwayne Hickson always says, no one must be left behind. No mouth must be left unfed. So this is not simply about uncovering a structure long hidden. It's about restoring consistent and safe access for the people of Montserrat. The reopening of this vital crossing ensures that the residents of Isles Bay, as well as our sand miners, farmers, tour operators, real estate opportunities and residents, they can move freely and securely. It also provides reliable passage for the communities of Richmond Hill, Weeks and Foxes Bay, strengthening connectivity and supporting both livelihoods and daily life. It speaks to partnership, and we want to thank the private sector, which assisted greatly. We could not do it alone. Madam Speaker, this restoration stands as a symbol of resilience and renewal. It demonstrates the government commitment to addressing long-standing challenges, as with Casby, and delivering tangible improvements that safeguard our people, empower our industries, reconnect our communities. Above all, it underscores our vision to ensure that Montserrat becomes a five-star destination, a place where our citizens and residents can work, live, and enjoy with pride, and visitors can also participate for relaxation and investment opportunity. We must be bold and courageous, and so, Madam Speaker, the skills that are used on our government projects, allowing our government to do more with less for the good of the people, building capacity, we cannot overlook that. We will always continue to partner with private sector, ensuring that they are also benefiting, because private sector is also one of our engines of growth, putting money in pockets, homes, helping businesses and the local economy, external contractors. Montserrat benefits, and so do they. Madam Speaker, we continue to lay the foundation on which we will advance. Our plant and mechanical capacity. BUILTE continues to strengthen the heavy equipment and workshop function that underpins everything from roadworks to emergency response. Because, Madam Speaker, a ministry that depends on external equipment at the moment of crisis is a ministry that will always be behind the storm. We work to ensure that we are always ahead of the storm and that our people can have connectivity as quickly as possible after storms. We also, Madam Speaker, continued with our utilities and energy transition. Over the past year, we have advanced the Green Energy Transition Program, moving from planning into early implementation. In so doing, we have established a foundation for a more sustainable and resilient energy system. During this period, the battery energy storage system, which was lying there, was refurbished and brought back into initial operational use, including charging and limited dispatch, marking an important step towards stabilizing the grid and enabling renewable energy integration. These are not isolated technical upgrades. They are foundation to public health, economic stability, and environmental resilience. They are also, Madam Speaker, improving our energy security, and while we strengthen our water reliability, reducing vulnerability to climate shocks, and enhancing access to essential services across the communities. Madam Speaker, these efforts have been supported by continued coordination with the Montserrat Utilities Limited, which remains central to the delivery of the energy, water, and distribution system improvement. Strengthening this partnership is essential to ensuring that infrastructure investments translate into reliable, sustainable services for the people of Montserrat. I will come to that, Madam Speaker, but we cannot but register in this honorable House our thanks and our gratitude for not only organizing, but the advice we get, making sure that the work was undertaken. Madam Speaker, the way that these projects were undertaken, the landscape of Montserrat has changed. The workforce, the ethos has changed, and I only can imagine what is going to happen in years to come. No more are we simply doing 7 to 3. Work is ongoing late into the night. That is the commitment that has been demonstrated by the Montserrat Utilities Services and all our other contractors. And, Madam Speaker, our persons from BUILTE, who despite their everyday duties, found themselves right there beside our contractors, working alongside to ensure that we are able to achieve. Madam Speaker, I must speak of our tower, and as we continue to strengthen the systems across access, making it safe and compliant, recognizing that connectivity is not a luxury but a condition of development, We also have to ensure, Madam Speaker, that our persons are housed in better condition. And so we were able, Madam Speaker, to do the internal works in the tower. And we have equipment, we also have furniture for the staff, but there are other technical requirements for assessment to bring it into commission before we advance to completion. And so, Madam Speaker, we will continue to work with the Governor's Office, with ASSI, and with ECHA to ensure that this is completed, and in short order, as quickly as possible. For the coming year, Madam Speaker, it's about building systems that last. I will not speak in an exhaustive way, Madam Speaker, because my other colleagues will also want to speak. And this is not the only time that we speak. We have town hall meetings, as Premier has pointed out yesterday. We do ministerial statements. We do radio programs. We do interviews. We speak to our people, Madam Speaker, and we intend to continue that connectivity. So in this budget, BUILTE is working towards a principle. We must protect what we already own. We cannot continue to build new assets while existing ones deteriorate. We cannot keep responding with patchwork. We cannot keep waiting until small defects become structural failures. The strategic plan identifies the need for infrastructure and building maintenance strategy. And this year, we intend to operationalize this principle. Stronger scheduling and planning of building maintenance, clearer prioritization based on risk, service, and investment, improved systems for managing our maintenance requests, and a structured approach to accommodation, health and safety access, and public estate. This is not a wish list, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we all know that when it rains, it rains. We have seen flooding, erosion, blocked drains, undermined roads, and communities disrupted. This year, BUILTE is working towards a stronger, more predictable cycle of road and drainage maintenance. The strategic plan explicitly sets out the need for modern tools, including asset management systems for roads and maintenance. And it recognizes that road improvement, including AO1 and supported infrastructure, remains central to national mobility and economic access. This is about safe travel, stronger access for communities, protection of property, reduced emergency response costs. Madam Speaker, the outcome of this work is straightforward and measurable. Improved drainage performance, reduced flood risk, enhanced road safety, and continued access to community and essential services. Madam Speaker, our guts have to be cleared and our crossways have to be strengthened. These are also on our program. Now to energy, Madam Speaker. Affordability and sovereign resilience is what we aim for. Energy is not only an engineering matter, it is a household matter, it is a business matter, it is a national security matter. And we have heard, Madam Speaker, although we may not be directly impacted on what is happening globally. I will not expand on this because our Premier, our Honorable Premier, did that quite ably. Our strategic plan commits to implementing legislative, regulatory, and institutional frameworks and support for renewable energy transition along the implementation of the energy policy and action plan. At the moment, we have consultants who are advancing that work. This year, BUILTE will continue to drive renewable energy modernization, grid resilience, and reliability, and the enabling reforms that ensure this transition is sustainable. We also recognize that geothermal is a strategic investment that must be maintained and protected and developed. The strategic plan makes clear the need for annual maintenance to safeguard this national asset. I must inform you, Madam Speaker, that we have received our final report on our geothermal flowing, and it is very positive. Madam Speaker, we have a gift from God, as some would say, double for our trouble, and it is, Madam Speaker, a natural resource that we must develop and from which our people must benefit. You have already heard this Honorable Premier speak of investors, but I also want to encourage Montrealans. They must not only be business people, but we must become investors as well and invest in our natural resource. We must preserve and protect for our future generation. Developing geothermal energy is central to cost stability for our household and competitiveness for businesses. It is a disciplined, multi-year project for national transformation. Madam Speaker, these investments are about reducing long-term exposure to fuel volatility and supply disruption, as well as climate-related risks. We know, Madam Speaker, that we are also embarking on our energy program, which at Shinlands, we have had some challenges, and that also include logistics. Just to give you an example, Madam Speaker, we received a container intending to advance the work. But what happened? In St. Martin, where it is shipped, they separated the shipment, and that which we need is still in St. Martin. But with God's grace and, Madam Speaker, our personnel supporting, they, I know, will try and get it here to us as quickly as possible. Now for water and wastewater, public health and dignity. It's about public health and dignity. It's important, Madam Speaker, that we have reliable water supply and effective wastewater systems. These are foundational. And so this year, BUILTE will continue to develop our spring development and water security intervention, wastewater system strengthening and permanent solutions, and improve integration between utilities and energy resilience. You would have seen, or the public would have seen, Madam Speaker, how we are eager to get that done. We can tell you, Madam Speaker, that Hope Springs is on near to completion. They're working on the fencing, and there are few more housing to be completed. Lawyers Mountain are completed. Madam Speaker, we have 2 tanks which are quite iconic for our landscape, and we are working on the other 2 tanks, and those are expected. That is our water security reservoirs. We have changed those to more healthy and durable options, and so we are in the process of completing those. Again, Madam Speaker, in undertaking that type of work, our people are also increasing their capacity as they are exposed on these works. Water is not only about pipes and pumps, however. Water, as I said, is about dignity, it's about our health, it's about our safety, it's about our resilience, it's about modern standard of living. And so these interventions improve reliability, reduce system losses, strengthen resilience to drought and climate variability. And Madam Speaker, I dare say that there are economic benefits as well. And these we wish to explore further in the new year. What of airport services, safety, compliance, and modernization? The strategic plan for the airport includes internal quality control systems and the continued pursuit of improved operations and facility modernization. It also highlights the business case approach for capital improvements and asset protection. In 2026-2027, our aviation focus is disciplined, safety and compliance first, operational readiness and modernization, protection of critical aviation assets, and a structured roadmap for any future extension of our operations. This is in the right order, Madam Speaker. Safety must lead, compliance must guide, sustainability must follow. We also will continue working with the Governor's Office, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we are able to offer our people a safe and reliable service, and affordable as well, in and out of Montserrat. We spoke also of Medivac earlier. That, Madam Speaker, is still being explored. But as I said earlier, I have spoken about those issues in this House and outside of this House, so I will not elongate this presentation in going into details. Our planned hire workshop and skills, the engine of delivery. Our workshop and fleet are not the back office functions. They are frontline national capacity. The strategic plan includes improved workshop systems, fleet management improvements, major overhaul of age equipment, and apprenticeship pathway in heavy equipment operation, welding, and mechanics. As we speak, we have apprentices who continue to work with us, and I must add that there are females who are involved in this program, and I only pray that they remain determined and persevere, because we know it's a male-dominated environment, and not give up, but continue to work so that they can become a light for other girls and women to see that they are not excluded from any occupation, from pursuing any skill, but that the world is there for them to become equal partners with our male counterparts. It is through our partnerships, as I said before, that we'll progress and that we'll prosper, as well as ensure that we have a secure, sustainable future. I also say that, in addition, Madam Speaker, to construction, and not to go back, but just to draw reference on our projects as they are right now on the road. Persons who would have seen the work undertaken would recognize that women were included, and we're going to make a stronger effort, even in procurement documents, that gender is balanced on our projects. We ask our female not to back down, but to come forward. And we at the Labor Department are willing to work with you and assist you in moving forward in occupations and jobs that are not normally seen in Montserrat. I dare say in Montserrat, where women are not normally seen in the workplace. This is critical. It is critical for the development of our land. Because, Madam Speaker, we cannot afford for women to be excluded. And I dare say I am not at all excluding my men either. It is my men who at this time, Madam Speaker, carry out the work, the hard work at BUILTE, and I will thank them later. So wherever they are, I want them to know that I'm not hitting out at them, but we're ensuring we have a more equitable and fair and wholesome society. The planned hire workshop and skills development is critical. Without our mechanical readiness, every infrastructure plans become theoretical. I have heard the Honorable Premier and he has already spoken, and as I normally say, Rome was not built in one day. I'm a reasonable person, but we'll work with what we have, and when we have further fiscal space, to see how we can strengthen this area. And our Premier has been very supportive in us getting our machinery. Madam Speaker, we will continue skills development in trade, for this is not optional. It is the backbone of resilience, and it's the economic opportunity for our young people. With respect to labor, which I've spoken about, but this is going forward, fairness, productivity, and workforce readiness is the mantra. The Strategic Plan for Industrial Relations and Employment Services recognizes the need to strengthen workforce resilience. We update policies in line with modern standards, and we have already implemented our minimum wage policy and planning on the horizon, as I said, to work with our employers. Madam Speaker, we also have international obligations, and although I will do so later, I want to commend our acting commissioner who has advanced work those reports, which were outstanding, and the handbook that I would have referred to was also prepared under her short tenure thus far. This year, our labor priorities include strong labor inspections and compliance systems, public awareness and workplace safety focus, improving labor market intelligence, and aligning training and workforce development to real demand. We cannot speak about growth if we do not protect workers. We cannot speak about transformation if our labor force is not prepared. We cannot speak about fairness if compliance is optional. We cannot speak about fairness if employers are not protected too. And supported. Madam Speaker, the establishment, as I shared earlier, of the national wage represents a structural reform in the labor market, strengthening income protection and fairness, particularly for our lower income workers, including women, their families. This reform is also setting the groundwork for a more orderly, fair, and modern labor market. Inclusive development and community impact. Madam Speaker, it is important to recognize that infrastructure is not neutral in its impact. It determines who has access, who is protected, and who benefits. Over the past year, infrastructure and maintenance programs have improved access to schools, health services, and community facilities, while also supporting local contractors and small service providers. These investments are strengthening access, equity, and opportunity across communities, including for women, youth, and our vulnerable groups. And now to ecclesiastical affairs, community well-being, social cohesion, and economic development. Madam Speaker, this department is built on the words that we wish above all things that you prosper and that you be in good health, even as our soul prospers. As faith-based people, our lives must reflect what our faith teaches. Montserrat is not only a place, it is a people. Community well-being is not only a social concern, it's a development concern, and our strategic plan signals engagement with faith-based programs as part of strengthening community well-being. And Madam Speaker, that was already highlighted by our Premier yesterday. And if we look at the theme for our budget presentation, it speaks to economic restoration and transformation with social empowerment. Through our faith-based, relationships and partnerships, we wish to advance this, Madam Speaker, this, Madam Speaker, We cannot afford not to bring about transformation and social empowerment and claim that we know God. A community well-being is not only a social concern, it is a development concern. And so our strategic plan signals engagement with faith-based programs as part of the strengthening community well-being. It is about partnership, mentorship, social stability, especially with families and young people. And we'll continue to structure engagement with faith-based partners. It's about economic development. It's about taking care of our elderly. Too many of our elders are left at home alone, Madam Speaker, with no one to speak with them. And it appears in some cases that their memory diminishes much more quickly when this happens. We wish, Madam Speaker, as I said, to look into social transformation and empowerment. We will also look at our youth development, again partnering with our Honorable Minister Osborne and his ministry and community. National identity and cohesion, we have remained committed to one Montserrat. We have come from different walks of life, different countries, different nationalities. Yet, Madam Speaker, we have been working together. When the Premier spoke of xenophobia, I was very concerned because I know that generally we are very welcoming, and we can go back to Arrow's Calypso. Montserrat is strangers' paradise. But what I can say, and I say so boldly, is that Montserratians are also a unique people, and they do not like to be taken for granted. They do not like if you're going to walk on them. They do not like if you do not respect our culture, that we are a people, and we're not here seeking any sympathy either, but a recognition that we have suffered and we have lost much, not just material things, because for some, that can be regained. For others, there's a real struggle. Paying mortgages at this time of your life, having recently built a house that you did not even sometimes get to sleep in, is not easy. And as I heard just recently, and I will not address that today, that visitors and those who come to live among us, as we do, must try to understand what matters to us and not simply want to impose their will upon us. Montserratians, although humble, quiet, will not tolerate that type of approach. We will strengthen our diaspora relationships, again, as we continue to build our one Montserrat. And the Premier would have already spoken that we intend to work with MAC to develop our religious festivals. We have gifted persons, gifted, talented people within the community of faith. And we do not want the master, and I respect those who do not share our God Jehovah and our Jesus, but I can only speak of them and what he said. What did you do with the talent? What did you do with it? It's also important that as a government, we harness that. We create opportunities for that to be shown to the world, and also to become a pillar of economic development. As I move on, before I move on, it would be remiss of me and ungrateful if I did not thank the Premier for the monies that he gave to the ministry to advance ecclesiastical affairs. When the department was transferred, there was no money, and the Premier, with the Ministry of Finance, allocated monies. That money is for, as I said, serious business. We wish above all things that you prosper, that you be in good health as your soul prospers. So I am just signaling, although it may look a little large, money can go quite quickly. But I again register my heartfelt thanks for that, Premier, Honorable Premier. Let me be clear that as we move forward, these are not random additions for which we have received additional fundings. These are signals of what government is working toward in order to strengthen delivery and resilience over the medium term. Building maintenance is recurrent to protect the public estate. Road drainage maintenance, recurrent to improve safety and flood readiness. Geothermal maintenance, recurrent to protect national energy investment. Fleet maintenance, recurrent to keep delivery capacity operational. Labor capacity and program strengthening, recurrent to improve compliance, fairness, and productivity. Our labor market needs assessment, labor market survey, capital to align with training on demand. Our airport facility improvement and asset protection, that is also capital to modernize and protect investment. These are investment into systems, not just outputs. And you may ask, is that all the capital you have? I am not going to deliberate on that issue since the Premier adequately dealt with that yesterday. But what I can say, Madam Speaker, is that we are not going to sit around and do nothing, but we are planning, because if we fail to plan, we are planning to fail. And that line does not work, or that word, with BUILTE. Risks and realities, we must always speak honestly about the constraints. The strategic plan itself recognizes risks such as the need for more funding, staff turnover and capacity strain, and the technical risks inherent in renewable energy and complex infrastructure programs. So, Madam Speaker, our commitment is not to pretend that these risks do not exist. Our commitment is to manage them through better planning, stronger governance, disciplined procurement, and consistent stability. BUILTE is built on endurance, perseverance, commitment, skills, capacity building, teamwork. We do have our differences. And although Premier said yesterday that the budget is about figures, we know that the budget is also about words. And it is the words that form our reality. And what we also do that also shapes our reality. So as we transition We want to transition from reactive delivery to structured, system-driven development. BUILTE does not promise perfection, but we do promise discipline, direction, delivery, and accountability. And we must review our ministry if we are going to go forward. We are building systems that last. We are protecting what the people already own. And we are also protecting our people, because our people is our most cherished asset. And that will be reflected when the other ministers present, and also from what Premier presented yesterday. We are strengthening the backbone of national resilience. And if I may say, Madam Speaker, with the understanding that building is not merely physical, that's where it began. Building is moral. Building is institutional. Building is generational. Building is aspirational. As Scripture reminds us, unless the Lord build the house, the laborers labor in vain. So we build not with arrogance, not with division, but with respect for each other and with humility. We want to build with integrity, to build with endurance. I will invite the people of Montserrat, at home and abroad, to continue to partner in the work of building such a country. Green, connected, we are thriving, and we're resilient. Our One Montserrat, our 5-star premium destination where people want to live, work, visit, find fun and enjoyment. Time for action. As faith without works is dead, so too will words without works be dead. As I always say, we live local, but we think local. So the United Nations Sustainable Goals must and are taken into account when we plan, but it requires all hands on deck. And so, Madam Speaker, I cannot speak about all of this without thanks, gratitude, deep felt gratitude to our people, the partnerships that we have forged working together for a prosperous and secure, sustainable Montserrat. We cannot speak about the people because without them, there is no delivery. And so I want to place on record my sincere appreciation to the staff of the Ministry of BUILTE and to our statutory partners. As I've already said, I have adopted all the gratitude and thanks that the Honorable Premier has registered in our budget, in his budget presentation for 2026. I thank you for the support you continue to give and for how you have delivered often under intense and sustained pressure. The workload carried by this ministry has been relentless. The pace has been constant. The battle rhythm has not let up. Many of our senior officers and indeed staff across the ministry have been operating for prolonged periods under strain, pushing through tight deadlines, complex demands, competing priorities, yet they continue to show up. What a consultant firm would have done and charged thousands for, maybe even the whole budget for some projects, the team at BUILTE, along with our partners, undertook and delivered, and in the process of completing. They show up prepared. They show up committed. They show up determined to deliver. Across government, Madam Speaker, we all recognize the morale has been tested. And that makes professionalism, consistency, standard of work challenging. But, Madam Speaker, they endure and they must be commended. Again, words are important. So I will reflect on the Honorable Premier's budget presentation. I am not sure I like the spider, because I don't like spiders, and I don't do spider webs. And there's a strong warning of caution. But, Madam Speaker, I still understand the message that he is imparting to us of the Herculean task that we can overcome when we work together. The fact that our team and our contractors and those who work for us turn up every day ready to produce work of high quality and integrity is a testament to their personal motivation, their sense of duty and commitment to Montserrat, to building one Montserrat, a five-star premium destination. Madam Speaker, to every member of the team, and I'm not going to call names, although I'm tempted to, but I want to say thank you. To every member of the road crew and beautification, our sewage team who rise early, because sometimes these are the people who get overlooked, left behind, unrecognized, who rise early to get the job done and keep our people safe and healthy. I say thank you. All it takes, Madam Speaker, I can tell you, is one call. You see it, we say it, and they sort it. That's the kind of team we have. A driver, and I'm not going to name him, he says, Minister, I'm on top of it. And so I want to thank our drivers and the mechanic shop, all the team, our apprentices. And our teams can flex, as the young people would say. The engineers, the architects, the clerk of works, don't talk about our QSs, not going to call any names. Our electricians, our inspectors, our office front staff workers, our security officers too. The traffic team didn't speak much of traffic, but there's much work to be undertaken there because we need to get traffic online and modernize traffic team. Labor Commissioner and the team, I see you. This country also sees you, and we benefit because of you. As I say, you flex, serving in your area of expertise. Wherever it is required, you give of yourself. Our Port Authority team, our airport team, you are not forgotten. We thank you. Our Port Project team too, we thank you. Mull and all our contractors who make it happen, we thank you. Madam Speaker, I will not address this today, but we lost a promise, potential, and possibility in our young engineer that we lost. And just for now, and also, as you would have shared, a member of our Legislative Youth Council who would have one day sit here, and although it was agriculture, I dare say to the Honorable husband that I believe he would have been in this seat as the Minister of BUILTE, given the nature of the expertise. And so we have lost a soldier and a leader, and we extend from the government of Montserrat and from BUILTE our sincere condolences. And at another time, which is more appropriate, we will delve into that a bit more because he requires more than I can give on this occasion. I thank God for his contribution. I thank God for all of our teams, our contractors who make it happen, especially all those, Madam Speaker, including our overseas contractors and consultants who have worked with us over the last year. We could not do it without them. As I said earlier, they have changed the working landscape, the ethos, and the mindset. And I think that puts us on good foundation to advance as we keep Montserrat moving. And as Premier said, as we rise from the ashes, as we rise from the negatives, and we go and we plant our feet on higher ground. To God who has been our help in ages past and our hope in years to come. And I said earlier, who has made it possible for me to be here and from all of us who are here today to be present. I'm sure when we reflected on our lives, who would have thought that this little girl from Kingsale, this little black girl who was told to go to school and learn, behave yourself, respect everyone, would be here today. And so we go forward, we march forward together, in unity, in togetherness. We'll have our disagreement, but the focus is building this country, molding this nation, one Montserrat, our 5-star premium destination, where people want to live, work, study, visit, come and enjoy the beauty and safety, panoramic views of our land, our emerald land. We give God thanks. We give God all the glory as we continue to work together. I said last time, we arise. We arise to build. We arise in faith, and we continue up through that pathway to forge through our people, our partnerships, prosperity for more secure, sustainable Montserrat. So God bless us all. God bless Montserrat. We thank him for all that is past, and we praise him for all that is to come. And Madam Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to address this honorable House, and I now rest, unless you require anything else of me, if it pleases you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.